Welcome to One Good Thing, a collection of short videos, each devoted to one good thing that might make your life a little brighter, a little nicer. At least that's the hope. Today, I wanted to talk about something that's really brought me a lot of pleasure over the past couple of years, and that's the game of Backgammon. Some of you may know it, but it's this game with the funny looking board with the triangles. But it's a terrific game. But before I make my case for that and hopefully persuade you to give it a try, if you don't know it already, I'd like to put in a plug for board games in general. I've always enjoyed games, but as I've gotten older, I've really come to realize that they're just a terrific way of bringing people together. So if you find yourself ever with your friends stuck doing the same stuff, maybe your family after dinner, everybody goes to their separate screens, or you just want to meet some new people, I'd really encourage you to give board games a try. I think you'll be really pleasantly surprised at how social they are, and you'll see sides of your friends and family that maybe you haven't seen before. I think you'll have a really good time. But in terms of backgammon in particular, for those of you who don't already know it, it's just a wonderful game, easy to learn. I'm going to talk in a minute about all the things that I really like about it. But one thing I'd like to point out is it's actually quite an old game. And the family of games it comes from, and I'm basing this on my extensive research of reading a couple of internet pages, but the family of games it comes from are very old, and predecessors are found in like Egyptian tombs and that sort of thing. But the game of backgammon itself, I was seeing it traced back to early 1600s in England. And in fact, it's derived from a pretty similar sounding game called Irish, which is even older. So whenever I encounter an old game like that that's still very actively played, I mean, millions of people still play this game. There are professionals, there are tournaments with big cash prizes, there are clubs all over the place. It's still a very actively played game. A game that's been played for over 400 years. That's worth knowing, I would say. Worth giving a try, and I hope you will. And I'll talk in a little bit about what I like so much about the game, or what are some of the things. But first, I'd like to give just a very brief overview of the rules. It's not going to be a complete set of rules. There are plenty of videos on YouTube that will show you the complete rules, but just to give you an overview. So let me pull out my board. So as promised, here's the overview of the rules. Again, I'm just trying to give a flavor. I'm not trying to give a complete set of rules here, but this is the starting position of the board. And maybe the first thing to address, if you've never played backgammon before, is sort of what the heck these triangles are. But actually, it's just like if you've played any game where you roll a die and then you move your piece that many squares. Well, that's what's going on here, except instead of squares, we have triangles. So like if I want to move a piece 6, it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And that's the nature of the game. Each player has 15 pieces, and they move, one player always moves clockwise and one player moves counterclockwise. So if you're white, for example, then you're going to be moving your pieces in this sort of horseshoe, and you're trying to get all your pieces off the end of the board this way. That's how you win. Black is moving the other way. Black is going to be moving this way. And you'll notice that means that you're having to move through each other's lines, which makes things pretty interesting because it's possible to capture your opponent's pieces. It's also possible to set up blockades. And so anyway, lots of possibilities for a little strife there. Now, as you move the pieces, you're not allowed to have two pieces of different colors on the same triangle, on the same point, they're called. So what that ends up meaning is, like, if we're like this and black rolls a 3, 1, 2, 3, well, if there's only one white piece here, white gets captured and it gets put on the bar here, and white has to bring him in from the beginning on his next move. On the other hand, if white has 2 or more in that spot, black's no longer able to capture. Those pieces are safe. And since you can't have two different colors on the same point, what that means is that if black has a 3 to move, black actually can't move that piece 3. That's not a legal move. And so what ends up happening is, one of the things you can try and do if you're white is, like, start to stack up these safe spaces like this. And that can make it very hard for, like, black to get past, right? Because now, in this case, a 6 becomes possible. But, you know, like anything like a 3, 4, 5, they can't move. They're blocked in. And that actually extends too to when you're trying to bring a captured piece off or back onto the board. Like if black ends up having to bring a piece back, this white blockade actually means it's very difficult for black to come in, and sometimes impossible. And in the game, you're actually not allowed to do anything until you bring any captured pieces back in. So actually black can really just get stuck, and white can have fun with that. Now, one of the things I'll just say too is that it's not really possible to just move around the board and be safe all the time. That would be, you know, being able to just exactly get the right rolls you need to move from safe space to safe space. So you end up having to take chances, and knowing kind of when to take chances and what chances to take. It's an important part of the game. And it also creates just a lot of fun, because pieces get captured, brought back to the beginning. You can be almost all the way out and then have your opponent capture one of your pieces and send you back to the beginning. So there can be some fun kind of chaos and some fun reversals of fortune. So anyway, that's basically the nature of the game. And there are all sorts of creative ways to kind of move your 15 pieces around. So yeah, anyway, that's what the game's about. That's what it looks like. So a few of the things that I really like of the game, and I made a little list here of some notes. But one is it's very easy to learn. You can see, just gave a quick overview. There's not that much more than what I described. So really, kids can easily learn it. It can really be a game for the family. It's a pretty quick game. Takes maybe 15 minutes or so to play a game, roughly. It can go back and forth. It's fun. It's fun. There can be some really dramatic turnarounds in the game. You're really not out of it until the end, and it more often than not really comes down to the wire. So it's a fun game. It's a social game. I mean, you definitely can get better at this game, and people play it at a very high level, but it's not something like chess or bridge where you're trying to count the cards and it just requires like unbroken concentration. It's very easy to enjoy refreshments, talk to the people around you, you know, and then when it's your play, of course, you focus a little bit, but it's very easy to just play casually. And even when you're playing more seriously, it doesn't feel like work. It's just fun. And that also touches on another thing that I like about it, which is you can get better. It's not just you're banging. I mean, you can just bang pieces around and not worry about anything. But if you're the sort of person who likes to improve and likes to learn a strategy, there is stuff out there, and you really can play better. The people who take it seriously, wow, they just they use computer simulations, and they have developed these really keen senses of what the best plays are and what the best strategies are. An interesting thing about it is that you have to take chances. And so the good players know which chances to take, when to take them. And it's not just like a probability of being captured, right? You've also got to know the reward side of the risk reward. And so the good players have a really keen sense of what risks are worth taking, which ones aren't. And for me, that really makes a game something that you can play more than just a few times, that you can keep getting better if you want to. And if you do decide to get better, by the way, there's a channel on YouTube called Backgammon Galaxy that has some very short, very easy to understand, very accessible videos that teach you some key points of strategy if you want to get a little better and beat your friend or whatever. Backgammon Galaxy is a terrific channel for that. There are plenty of places to play online. You can play like on Board Game Arena. Backgammon Galaxy has a site, though that one seems to be meant for pretty serious players. And I know there are others as well, so there's no trouble getting a game. It's a fairly inexpensive game. You can get a board. Well, shoot, if you go to a thrift store, you can find one for under $10 US, I think in general. But, even if you buy a new one, although you can spend just obscene amounts of money on one, the truth is you could get one for, $50 or something like that. And a backgammon board, will last you a lifetime, really. And it is a lifetime game, so that's pretty sweet. Let's see, any other notes I wanted to mention? Oh, well, one thing too that's nice is that players of different abilities can play together. It's not a game like chess, say, where if one player is better than the other, well, you kind of know what's going to happen before you start. There's no doubt the better player is going to win most of the time, but even the weaker player has a shot. If they roll the right things, they can win. And certainly they can feel like they're in the game. So if you're playing with your family, for example, and maybe you have some people who aren't as interested in learning to play as others, you can still have a great time. Finally, one other thing I thought of that's just been fun is that my daughter and I have taken the game out to the park. And as you can see, it's dice and these fairly heavy pieces. There's nothing to blow away. It's really a pretty good travel game, and the board's pretty robust. So, you don't have to have any hesitation about taking it to the park or taking it to the beach, as long as it's not too precious a board, I suppose. Anyway, I hope I've given you some reasons to dig out your old board or learn how to play the game. I really think you'll find it's worth it. And even if you don't choose backgammon, I hope this video will remind you to just keep your eyes open for the other cool things that are out there. Thanks.